तो मैं लिखी the examples of utility maximization problem. Okay. So we are going to look at two separate utility functions. One is u equal to xy, whose contour is, that means ICs are rectangular hyperbola, okay, and which is obviously a specific variation of kind of Cobb-Douglas, where you can imagine that this is alpha 1 and both are alphas and each of them are equal to 1. Okay. And the other one is u equal to x square plus y square. Now in literature there are huge variants of this, but for our purpose we are taking these two simple things. The purpose is this. So we have learned the FOC after construction of the corresponding Lagrangian. The FOC is basically this, that Lx first partial 0, this is 0, and the against lambda it is 0. So these three, and they are same for both of them. Now in SOC we have learned this bordered Hessian determinant, and we have seen that if it is positive, then it's fine, we have attained a maximum. Now this is a sufficient condition, right? Which means that if it is satisfied, then the point that we have got is a maximum. But it's not true that at each and every maximum this will hold, right? This is the necessary condition, which means that whether it be a maximum, I mean, if it is a maximum, then this will be true. And the sufficient means if border Hessian is positive, then it will be a maximum. Okay. So now what we are trying to see with these two utility functions is that how this becomes true, that given this is utility function, if I solve the first order condition and then I go for the solving the second order condition, then I will see that here the bordered Hessian will become something else, which will tell me that the standard idea of using border Lagrangian method for solving utility maximization problem, it doesn't work if I have a utility function of this kind. Okay, and then we'll discuss why this is so, and obviously how we are going to solve if we have utility functions of this kind. Now, okay, so let's proceed to that. So the problem that we have on the left side is pretty easy. Okay, so let's just construct the Lagrangian. So here it will be xy plus, and we are taking the simplest, so m minus px into x minus py into y. So the generalized idea. Now FOCs will tell us that script tell x will be y minus lambda px equal to 0, ly equal to x minus lambda py equal to 0, right? And from here we will get y equal to lambda px, and from here it will get x equal to lambda py, and these two will give me y by x equal to px by py. Okay, and then we will have L lambda equal to our own budget constant, so that will be pxx minus pyy equal to 0, and we will put this condition right here. So here it says that if I change, y will be pxx by py. So from here we get this y, okay, and if I put it here, then it will be m minus pxx, it will remain same. So in place of y, I'm writing px into x by py, which is equal to 0. So that will give me 2px into x equal to m. So x equal to m by 2px. Okay. So that is my Marshallian demand function. Okay. So this is, okay, let me write small m. So this is my Marshallian demand function. Okay. So let's do the same thing here. So here Lagrangian will be x square plus y square plus lambda into m minus pxx minus pyy, and if I do the same thing here, I'm just writing script L x will be 2x minus lambda px equal to 0, so that will be 2x equal to lambda px, And for Ly, it is symmetric, right? So 2y minus lambda py equal to 0. And this will be 2y equal to lambda py. And from this, we'll get x by y equal to px by py. Okay. All right. Now, if I go to L lambda, then it will be m minus pxx by pyy. And then from this one, I will get that x py by px will be y. So if I put it here, this will be equal to 0. So if I put it here, so it will be m minus pxx minus py into x into py by px equal to 0. Correct? Okay. So that will give me, now here x will be quite a little bit clumsy, not nice looking like this one. So it will be x equal to, okay, let's first multiply by px. So px into m minus px square into x minus py square into x equal to 0. Okay, so that will give me, okay, I'm going to erase this equation, okay, the budget line, which is quite trivial. So that will give me my Marshallian demand function for x equal to, what will that be? Px into m by px square plus py square. So this is my Marshallian demand function that I get if I use the Lagrangian method and optimize. Okay, so for just for change in color, I mean, let's just block it like this. So one of our result here, it is xm by xm is m by 2px, and here it will be this one. So xm equal to px into m by px square plus py square. Now, up to this is fine. So we have found some kind of optimization point, okay, some kind of critical point. And if we kind of use it to solve for y, then as you can see that here x square plus y square, so we'll get the symmetric result. So by symmetry, I mean the y function, if I erase this one, so the Marshallian demand function for y, I mean using Lagrangian method, it will give me y Marshallian is py into m by px square plus py square. So that will be the result of y here. Okay. So similarly, if I do this here on the u equal to xy problem, if I use the idea of symmetry to find the other one, it will be, okay, so it will be, let me write a bit clearly. So one will be x Marshallian equal to m by 2px, and other will be ym equal to m by 2py. Okay, now this much is good. Okay, it's fine. Now to guarantee the fact that indeed what we have achieved are two maximum points, I need to go to the, I need to check the value of the border Hessian. Okay, and in order to check the border Hessian, I need these three conditions, right? This will give me the form of, this will help us writing, filling up the determinant. Okay, so let's do it. Yes, we have a slight space crunch, but anyways, we'll be able to do that. Okay, so what is my border Hessian? Okay, let's do one thing. So what is my border Hessian? Okay, let's see, does this part. So in general, border Hessian will look like this: 0, px, py, then px, py. Here I will have uxx, uxy, uyx, uyy, and we have shown that instead of writing u, we can write lxx, lxy, lyx, and lyy, right? So it will be this. Okay, now if I put the appropriate values from these two, then what will happen? So 0, px, py, and then obviously this will be also px, py. So lxx, what will that be? That will be 0. Okay, and what will be lxy? That will be 1. Then what will be lyx? This one. So that will be 1, and lyy again it will be 0, right? So if I differentiate with x, it will be 0, with y 1. Here with x 1, with y 0. Okay, so this is my bordered Hessian for this specific problem. So now let us calculate it and see what value comes. Okay. Okay. So let's erase it. So what will it be? Okay. Each row has 0. So and here it has 1. So let me take the last one, the last row. Okay. So first is py, and for py it will be px, right? And for the second one it will be -1. And is it, or I'm doing it wrong? Py. So this is 1 3, right? 3, sorry, 3 3,1. So 4, that is plus. Okay, this is 3,2. So this is minus. So it's fine. 1. If I take 1, then this is 0, and this is minus py square, right? If I take 1, so this column and this row, so 0 and minus py square. So it will be py into px plus py square. So this is trivially strictly positive. This is positive by assumption. So that means that what we achieved here is indeed a maximum. So here our xm and ym, they are maximum. Okay. So the sufficient condition showed us that it is indeed the case. Also, if I may say so, we can say so that take the fact that while evaluating bordered Hessian's value in this determinant, when we have differentiated, that is when we have worked out lxy or lxx or lyx or lyy, after that we have not put the value of xm or ym. So what I'm trying to say is that the value of this determinant is not evaluated at critical point. That is, it is not required. We did not require to evaluate it at the maximum or the optimum point. The reason is very simple. The reason is that this determinant does not contain any further x and y. It contains only parameters and numbers. So because of that, what we have found, it holds true for the entire u equal to xy, given that px and py are positive. Okay, so what we have found here, but that's fine. If we had x and y here, then we have to replace those x and y by their critical point values, that is xm and ym. So this is a maximum, and we can say that the xy values that we have got, they are actually the function, the Marshallian demand functions, because this is maximum point, right? So if this x and y values that we had obtained, if they are not maximum, then obviously we have found something, but obviously that's not the Marshallian demand function, right? So because the utility maximization point, the solution gives us Marshallian demand. Okay. So we have made a mistake of calculation. It will be -1, then not -1. Yes, -1 minus px into py. And this will make it px into py, and that will be 2 px py. Sorry. Yes, but anyways, so that also becomes positive. Okay, so what we have found is indeed a maximum. Now, what about this one? Let's see what happens in this problem. Okay, so let me erase these two. Okay, so let us find the same thing here. Okay, so now we know what constitutes border Hessian, right? So border Hessian determinant will be 0 here, px here, py here, px here, and py here. Here it will be lxx. So lxx will be now 2, correct? And lxy will be 0. Here ly, this will be lyx. So lyx is also 0. And here lyy, so that will be 2. Okay, so obviously it's a different problem. So we have a different looking Hessian border Hessian determinant. Now the value of this, what is the value of this? So let us take the middle row. So this is, what is this, 1 and 2 and 1. So this is minus px. Right. So this and this, there will be 2px, right? And then this will be plus 2. So that will be these two gone. So 0 minus py square. So what we have obtained here, the answer is minus 2px squared minus 2py squared. Given px and py positive, this answer is negative. So here we didn't get a positive border Hessian. Now what does that mean? That means that if I solve the FOCs, the x star and y star that we have obtained is, now that we know that it is negative, we have obtained a minimum point. So this is not a maximum, this is a minimum. Now, what does it mean? First of all, what it means is that using Lagrangian method for this function is not correct, right? It gives us wrong answer. This is the first thing. Now that asks two separate questions. Number one is how to recognize that in which case Lagrangian method works and in which case it doesn't, because as an example of utility function, we know that several different kinds of utility functions may appear. Okay, so that is the first thing that we want to know. That's the first. Second, which is more important also, is that okay, it's fine that Lagrangian method doesn't work here. Now, how to maximize utility here? Okay, so there are two questions. Now, as an answer to the first question, that how to recognize that Lagrangian method will not work, as an answer to that, we must go into the topic of, as we say, so this is a correct problem. This problem that for u equal to xy, we are okay with what we have learned. So let me erase this because we didn't face any problem here. Okay. Now, to answer the first question, that where Lagrangian method works and where it doesn't, we have to go to the topic of quasi-concavity and quasi-convexity. Now this topic, not going into this topic, what one can always say is that checking, before solving the problem, checking the fact that whether a utility function is quasi-concave or not, or quasi-convex or not, that can become real difficult. That is the first thing. The second thing is, when you are checking the border Hessian, we'll go to that. When you are checking the border Hessian, okay, it actually gives you the answer for the question of whether we are dealing with a quasi-concave function or a quasi-convex function. If a function is twice differentiable, then evaluating border Hessian in general gives us the answer to these two questions. Okay, and obviously as a sufficient condition. So we'll come to all of that later. But there is an easier method, much easier method, which relies on two things. Number one is obviously shape of IC. Shape of IC corresponding to a utility function. And number two is knowledge of geometry. So a little bit of knowledge of geometry is required. Okay, simple little bit of knowledge. So how does that work? Let us take separately these two utility functions, that is u equal to xy, for which our method works, and u equal to x square plus y square, for which the Lagrangian method does not work, and see how you can recognize. Okay. Okay. So we'll come to knowledge of geometry later. It's personal, but as a shape of IC, as a working rule, you can have this rule that if the ICs are convex to origin, then Lagrangian method works. Then Lagrangian method works, and otherwise it does not. Okay. So if the ICs are convex to the origin, then Lagrangian method works, and otherwise it is not. Now, obviously, you know that if you have convex to the origin ICs, that basically says that in 3D, the utility function is quasi-concave. So that's how they are related. But anyways, checking whether the ICs generated by a utility function, whether they are convex or not, is pretty easy. With a little bit of knowledge of geometry, you can do that. And for quasi-concave, it is easy compared to checking whether it's quasi-concave or not. Okay. All right. So now we are going to check the fact about u equal to xy. Okay. Okay. So for u equal to xy, I'm saying that that the ICs are, so the IC is u bar equal to xy. That's the equation of an IC, right? So what is this? This is two variables multiplying and resulting into a constant. So that's rectangular hyperbola. And a rectangular hyperbola is convex to the origin. So that means, okay, you can use Lagrangian. Now, if you can't draw the function readily, then obviously you have your own method of using the first derivative, using calculating dy dx and then d2i dx2, and checking that whether the ICs are convex to the origin or not. And for as someone coming from economics, it's basically the same thing of checking diminishing MRS, right? So if you have diminishing MRS, then you have convex to the origin IC, and you know how to check diminishing MRS, so you can do that, right? Or mathematically speaking, you can check convexity using dy dx or d2i and d2i dx2 when you do not have when you fail to apply the knowledge of geometry. If you miss that, then you can do that. Now, for some functions, we readily know that they're convex to the origin, and one of them is obviously Cobb-Douglas. And so if we have a variation of Cobb-Douglas, then we know that we are dealing with a convex to the origin function, and we know that Lagrangian is useful. Now, what about this one? What about u equal to x square plus y square? Now, remember, this is what I'm talking about is strictly convex to the origin. Okay. Okay. So we'll come to what happens when the function is not strictly convex. And again, we have seen that this strict convexity, actually it is required just at the point where you are optimizing. So beyond the point of optimization, okay, it can be anything else, and that doesn't really bother. But here we are talking about a more stricter and secure setup. The secure setup is this, that if the function is in general convex to the origin, then Lagrangian method will definitely work. And that's how we check that. Okay. I mean the function, by function I mean the shape of IC, not the 3 variable function, but this one. Okay, the 2 variable IC. Okay, so let's check the other one. What is the shape of IC if u equal to x square plus y square? Now, if you look at u equal to x square plus y square, this is essentially a circle. In 2D, for IC, we have u bar equal to x square plus y square. So this is basically a circle, right? With its origin at, with its center at origin, and radius to be root u. So that's what it is, a circle. Now, if I draw a circle centered at the origin, then my IC would be the shape that it takes in the first quadrant. Now in the first quadrant, a circle with center at origin will be a concave to origin function. So my shape of my IC is now concave to origin. Now if that becomes the case, as we know that my Lagrangian method, it doesn't work. Okay, so it fails there. Okay, so that gives us the answer to the first question. And as I said, that anything other than convex ICs, convex to the origin ICs, for anything other than this, Lagrangian method does not work. So remember the different shapes of ICs that you have studied, like something like straight line, which is weakly convex and obviously weakly concave. So for that it doesn't work. For L-shaped or anything else, it doesn't work. It only works for, apart from all this Cobb-Douglas form, it works for one else, and that is what is that? Quasi-linear utility function. But also in quasi-linear, there are some associated problems. But anyways, those are special cases. But the method by which we solve quasi-linear utility functions Umax problem is Lagrangian method. Okay. Now, what happens to the other problems, other utility functions? Let's look at that. Because knowing only the Lagrangian method, that does not really work. What you have to know is where it does not work. Because every time you see a utility function, you cannot apply Lagrangian method. That's what we are learning here. That every time you see a function, see an utility function, don't blindly apply Lagrange, because Lagrange only works when the shape of the IC is convex to the origin. Okay, so what happens when it is not? Now when it is not, mathematically what is happening is that we do not have interior solution. Remember the differential calculus that I have studied. When I'm looking for an optimum point, that is maximum or minimum, okay, either it will be at a point where first order becomes 0, or it will be at the boundary point. So since it is not at the point where FOC holds, obviously it is not an interior solution. So we have to check the boundary points. Now, when I'm talking about boundary points, so I have to check boundary points. Now, what does that mean? In terms of economics, in our problem of utility maximization, boundary points implies that consumer will consume either only X or only Y. Okay, wherever utility is higher. Now doing that is pretty easy, right? First you consider that Y equal to 0, and then you put in place of X M by Px, right? Okay, we'll do that. And in the next scenario, you just put X equal to 0 and find the highest value of Y. So the consumer gives in entire income to Y. So that will be M by Py. So in one case, it is becoming here, when Y equal to 0, U becomes M by Px's whole square. And when X is 0, Y is becoming M by Py's whole square. Right? So those are two extreme things. And now you have to, given numerical values, you just have to compare where the utility is higher. So wherever utility is higher, that will be consumed. Now, there is a third possibility. What is the third possibility? It is this: if the utility becomes same, then we have multiple equilibria. then we have multiple equilibria. Okay, so if we have similar use, same, so not similar, but identical utilities, then we have multiple equilibria. Okay, so for example, if I'm working with a straight line, u equal to x plus y, okay, let me give you just an example. So if I'm working with an utility function where u equal to x plus y and px equal to 1 and py also equals to 1, then we have a utility function, we have a budget line. Okay, let's write it the budget line. So we have a budget line, the slope of which is identical with the slope of this IC. So the slope of these two, they are identical. So identical slope. Now that means when I'm drawing this L1, it is basically also true that I am drawing an IC here. So this is also an IC. And I cannot segregate between these two. And that leads to my answer to be infinite number of choices, infinite number of equilibria. Okay, so that's my choice. So in that case, obviously the demand function becomes very different, but we are not interested in all of that. What we're interested in, that this is how we solve for ICs which are not convex, not strictly convex, okay, not strictly convex to the origin. This is how we solve it. We do not apply Lagrangian method because Lagrangian, it doesn't work here, okay. For this one, it gets me the minimum, and for the linear cases, it actually becomes 0, okay. So none of that works. But that doesn't mean, what we just learned is, that doesn't mean that there is no maximum point. There is maximum point, and we are to find that maximum point following this method. Now just to extend this a little bit, this problem can appear even if a function or an IC which is not convex but has a linear region. Okay, so this can appear when an IC is convex, but here it has a linear region and goes like this. Okay, so in this case also, as we have learned earlier, that E1 to, let's say this is E some En, we have multiple equilibria. And there also at optimum, when I'll be evaluating the border Hessian, okay, the sufficient condition will treat this situation as if a straight line is there, and it will completely ignore what happens in these parts. All right, so there is this complexity, but through this exercise we learned that when our Lagrangian method works, when it doesn't work, so how to segregate them, and also when the Lagrangian method does not work, how to solve the problem. Okay, now as I said in the middle, that all of this basically points to this question, that whether this 3 variable function, that is our old u equal to u of x comma y, it points to the fact that whether it is quasi-concave or quasi-convex, okay, both in either in strict sense or non-strict sense, or it is linear, in which case it is both, right? So if I consider the weak condition, so that's what we just learned. So now the automatic topic that comes in our mind is how to check quasi-concavity or quasi-convexity, because if a priori we can guarantee that fact, then the SOC, the second order condition, will be automatically satisfied, and we can stop solving the problem just by getting the solution by solving the first order conditions. Okay, so now we'll move on to quasi-concave and quasi-convex and see in what cases they become quasi-concave or quasi-convex.